History often hides inside ordinary cups. Before kings wrote laws, people fermented. But where do ancient women enter? The answer begins before clear records. And it changes across every civilization. Alcohol did not begin as luxury. It began with fruit, grain, and accident. Wild yeast worked before human recipes. Fermentation turned sweetness into strange power. Early people noticed the emotional effect. They also noticed food lasted longer. That discovery reshaped meals and rituals. But gender remains archaeologically difficult to prove. Bones rarely record who drank what. Pottery residues reveal drinks, not drinkers. So the earliest answer requires caution. Women likely drank before writing existed. Yet direct proof appears much later. The oldest chemical clues come from China. At Jiahu, jars held fermented residue. Those residues date around 7000 BCE. The drink mixed rice, honey, fruit. This was not modern beer or wine. It was a Neolithic fermented beverage. Villagers probably shared it during gatherings. Women lived inside those village communities. They cooked, stored, served, and celebrated. So women were almost certainly nearby. But archaeology cannot name individual drinkers. That uncertainty makes the story fascinating. Alcohol entered life through household labor. Households were not gender-neutral spaces. Food preparation often involved women's work. Grinding grain required time and strength. Heating mash demanded skill and patience. Storing liquids required pottery and planning. Fermentation rewarded careful attention and timing. Early alcohol belonged to domestic technology. That made women central in many societies. In Mesopotamia, beer became civilization's drink. Barley fields supported cities and temples. Beer nourished workers and honored gods. It also appeared in wage records. Sumerian culture gave beer a goddess. Her name was Ninkasi, divine brewer. That detail matters more than symbolism. A beer goddess reflects cultural assumptions. Brewing was linked with feminine power. The famous hymn describes brewing steps. It reads almost like sacred recipe. Women appear around taverns and production. Some manage drinking spaces and trade. It was calories, payment, and ritual. Ancient drink was often thick and cloudy. People sometimes used straws for filtering. Women could drink within household settings. They could also serve religious celebrations. Elite men dominated many written records. That creates a distorted historical spotlight. Women's habits were often left undocumented. In Egypt, beer was everywhere daily. Bread and beer formed basic nutrition. Workers received beer as regular rations. Men, women, and children consumed beer. Egyptian beer was weaker than spirits. It filled stomachs more than glasses. Women brewed, carried, offered, and drank. Tomb scenes show banquets with women. Those women hold cups and flowers. The mood is festive, sacred, elegant. Wine also entered elite Egyptian parties. Beer remained more common among ordinary people. Goddesses shaped alcohol's Egyptian meaning too. Hathor connected joy, music, and intoxication. Sekhmet's myth linked beer with pacification. These stories placed women near alcohol. Not only as drinkers, but symbols. Alcohol marked fertility, mourning, and rebirth. It crossed boundaries between worlds. Ancient women drank during festivals and funerals. They drank at home and banquets. But status changed every possible answer. A queen's cup meant political splendor. A worker's beer meant survival. A priestess's drink meant ritual duty. A tavern keeper's drink meant business. One question becomes many social worlds. In the Levant, wine carried prestige. Grapevines transformed landscapes and trade routes. Women appear indirectly through household archaeology. Storage jars suggest domestic consumption patterns. Family meals likely included fermented drinks. In Greece, wine became socially complicated. The symposium was a male performance. Elite men drank, debated, and displayed. Respectable women were often excluded there. That does not mean abstinence. Women drank in different social spaces. Religious festivals could include female drinking. Dionysian rituals challenged ordinary social boundaries. Wine was medicine, offering, and danger. Greek writers often moralized women's drinking. Their warnings reveal anxiety, not absence. When authors forbid something, it exists. Greek women were judged through reputation. Public drinking could threaten family honor. Private drinking was harder to record. Comedy exaggerated women as secret drinkers. Satire preserves prejudice alongside reality. So Greece gives contradiction, not silence. In Rome, wine became legal drama. Early stories claimed women avoided wine. Some traditions punished wives for drinking. These tales defended patriarchal control. Later Roman women drank more visibly. Banquets could include high-status women. Roman moralists still complained about excess. Complaint itself proves visibility was growing. Law, gossip, and dinner overlapped. Alcohol measured class as much as gender. Poor women met beer and cheap wine. Elite women encountered imported luxury wines. Enslaved women served and sometimes drank. No ancient woman represents all women. Across Asia, fermentation developed many forms. Rice wines shaped Chinese ceremonial life. Women participated through households and offerings. Before states, infants must stay cautious. In the Americas, later ancient societies fermented. Women often prepared maize-based ritual drinks. That pattern echoes household brewing elsewhere. And food labor frequently involved women. Therefore women probably drank very early. The first direct proof comes later. Images, laws, myths, and texts converge. They show women drinking by antiquity. They also show control and judgment. Ancient alcohol was never just alcohol. It was nutrition, medicine, offering, payment. It created fellowship and social risk. It could honor gods and embarrass families. Women's drinking reveals ancient power structures. It shows how pleasure became regulated. It also shows women were present. Present in kitchens, temples, fields, taverns. Present in stories men often edited. So when did women start drinking? Probably as soon as communities fermented. Proven clearly by early historic civilizations. Documented strongly in Mesopotamia and Egypt. Restricted differently in Greece and Rome. Hidden earlier by archaeology's limits. The cup existed before the signature. The woman existed before the record. And silence does not mean absence. So the answer is layered. Women likely drank before written history. Proof appears through residues and records. Ancient drinking reflected labor and power. Like, subscribe, and comment your theory.